4 points. That's all it took for the biggest match of Alex Eala's career to slip through her fingers. But the real mystery wasn't simply how she lost. It was why the same serve that helped her take down the defending champion just 2 days earlier suddenly looked hesitant, vulnerable, and almost unrecognizable. Millions watched it happen on center court, yet only a few people seemed to understand what was really going wrong. High above the court, two former champions noticed details the crowd missed, and their disagreement may explain why this loss could become one of the most important moments of Alex's career. To understand what happened, you have to go back to Monday evening in London. The sky had that soft golden glow that settles over a grass court stadium just before the atmosphere turns electric. Alex walked on to center court, but she was no longer being introduced as a fun underdog with nothing to lose. 2 days earlier, she had pulled off the kind of victory that changes the way the entire tennis world looks at a player. She had defeated Iga Swiatek, the defending champion. It wasn't a moral victory, a close scare, or a lucky result that could be explained away afterward. Alex beat her. It was a legitimate statement from a 21-year-old who suddenly had broadcasters, fans, and casual sports viewers around the world learning how to pronounce her name. Back in the Philippines, the excitement had reached another level. An arena in Pasig City opened its doors for free so approximately 8,000 fans could gather and watch Alex on a giant screen. They cheered every point and reacted to every bounce of the ball as if they were sitting courtside in London. The president of the Philippines publicly called her a true inspiration. A YouTube clip of her victory over Swiatek drew more than 1.2 million views, reportedly more than twice the audience generated by matches involving Novak Djokovic and Serena Williams on the same channel. Think about that for a moment. A young player from Quezon City was attracting more attention than two of the most recognizable athletes tennis has ever produced. So when Alex stepped onto the court against Jasmine Paolini, she wasn't simply playing for a spot in the next round. She was carrying the hopes of an entire country, along with the weight of a career-changing victory that had barely had time to sink in. Most people believed the toughest challenge was already behind her. In reality, the hardest part was just beginning. Almost immediately, something looked wrong. The serve that had caused Swiatek so many problems was beginning to fall apart in real time. Alex's first serve lacked its usual speed and conviction. One serve was measured at only a little over 60 miles per hour, a pace that looked almost gentle compared with the weapon she had displayed on Saturday. She was landing barely half of her first serves, which meant she was beginning too many rallies on the defensive. Instead of controlling points, she was scrambling to stay in them. Early in the opening set, she pushed one serve over the net without any real force, then sent the next attempt long. It looked like the shot was asking permission to enter the court rather than demanding control of the point. The contrast with her previous match was impossible to ignore. Against Swiatek, Alex's serve averaged more than 86 miles per hour. She produced 4 aces and did not commit a single double fault. She won more than half of the points played behind her second serve, and Swiatek later acknowledged how mentally exhausting it had been to deal with those deliveries. That wasn't a fluke, it was a real weapon. So what happened during the 48 hours between Saturday's breakthrough and Monday's battle? The answer appears to go far beyond basic technique. Beating Swiatek wasn't merely another result on Alex's resume, it was an emotional earthquake. It was the loudest and most overwhelming achievement of her career, unfolding in front of a global audience. Athletes are often expected to celebrate a huge win, answer questions, process the attention, recover physically, and then somehow reset as though nothing happened. Human beings don't always work that way. Alex acknowledged afterward that she had been trying to manage her emotions. She explained that this wasn't the first time she had earned a major victory and then had to return to competition only 2 days later. She described that process as part of being professional, but there was more beneath those words. For 2 days, she had been trying to come down from the highest point of her sporting life while millions of people continued saying her name louder and louder. She also entered the match with preventative tape around her forearm. Alex said it was nothing serious, only the effect of a long season catching up with her body. Still, the picture was clear: tired legs, a heavily tested body, and a mind that may have still been replaying Saturday's miracle. Yet even with all of that working against her, she fought back and won the second set. She took a match that appeared to be slipping away and forced it into a deciding third set. That detail matters because it proves the loss wasn't caused by a lack of heart or ability. Even without her best serve, Alex found a way to compete. Whatever ultimately cost her the match was smaller, sharper, and more painful than a simple talent gap. It was waiting in the most important moments, and Paolini knew exactly how to take advantage. Paolini was 30 years old and had already lived through the type of pressure Alex was experiencing for the first time. She was a former world number 4 who had reached 2 Grand Slam finals in the same season. She understood what the second week of a major tournament could do to a player's nerves because she had survived those moments repeatedly. However, she had not arrived at Wimbledon looking unstoppable. Her season had been difficult. A foot injury disrupted her preparation for the grass court swing, and she lost her first set of the tournament by a lopsided score that could easily have sent her towards an early exit. Many players would have panicked. Paolini responded differently. She treated that bad start as the lowest point and began rebuilding her tournament 1 point at a time. That experience showed when the pressure reached its peak.
In the final set against Alex, Paolini won 94% of the points played behind her first serve. She lost only 5 points on serve during the entire set, and did not face a single break point when the match mattered most. She moved forward aggressively, approaching the net 27 times and winning 18 of those exchanges. That is the kind of commitment that comes from trusting your instincts under pressure. She later revealed that Roger Federer, her childhood idol, was sitting in the royal box. Paolini admitted she was trying not to think about him watching, yet she still managed to execute her game plan. The matchup carried another layer of intrigue because Alex had already defeated Paolini earlier in the season, and she had done it decisively twice. This was not a case of one player being clearly superior. It was a case of experience meeting inexperience at precisely the moment when experience becomes priceless. The statistics showed just how close the match really was. At one stage, the total points won were separated by only 1 point, 69 to 68. That isn't domination. That is a match balanced on a razor's edge, with a handful of points landing the wrong way at the worst possible time. Paolini broke early in the opening set and moved ahead 4-1. Many young players would have mentally checked out right there. Alex didn't. She battled all the way back to 4-4 before eventually losing the set by the smallest possible margin. In the second set, Alex came out attacking. She failed to convert 3 early break opportunities, but she kept pushing until her game began to click. Then came one of the loudest moments of the entire match. Serving at love 40, Alex faced 3 consecutive breakpoints. One mistake could have allowed Paolini to take control. Instead, Alex won 5 straight points to hold serve. The crowd erupted, her belief returned, and she went on to level the match. Then came the third set, and this is where the entire story turned. The score was tied at 3-3, with Alex serving. She reached 40-30. She needed only 2 clean points to hold serve and remain in front during the deciding set of the biggest match of her life. Then the pressure tightened. A backhand sailed long, bringing the game to deuce. A forehand drifted wide, giving Paolini the advantage. Alex then committed a double fault, followed by another backhand error. 4 unforced errors on 4 consecutive points. They came at exactly the moment when composure mattered most. Paolini broke serve and eventually closed out the match. Across the afternoon, Alex converted only 3 of the 10 break opportunities she created. In a match that close, those missed chances represented a difference between a historical quarterfinal appearance and the end of her run. In the press room, Alex described the outcome with painful accuracy. At this level, she said, matches come down to details, extremely fine details. But while most people were focused on nerves and missed opportunities, one of the greatest players in tennis history had identified another issue. 9-time Wimbledon champion Martina Navratilova was studying Alex's serve placement, and what she saw left her baffled. A graphic displayed during the match showed that Alex, a natural left-hander, was barely using one of the biggest built-in advantages available to her. Navratilova said bluntly, "For a lefty, this is crazy." She noted that Alex was serving wide in the deuce court and down the middle in the ad court, almost the reverse of the patterns a left-handed player would normally use to attack a right-handed opponent's weaker side. Only a small portion of Alex's serves were slicing away towards Paolini's backhand, even though that angle could have become her signature weapon. Navratilova emphasized that Alex possesses a dangerous left-handed serve, but simply wasn't using it effectively. The placement genuinely confused her. However, former British number 1 Laura Robson intervened. She argued that a wide serve without enough pace could sit up comfortably and allow Paolini to crush a backhand return. In other words, serving to that location would only work if Alex fully committed, accelerated through the shot, and removed every trace of hesitation. There could be no half-speed swing and no second-guessing. Former world number 1 Caroline Wozniak then added the emotional explanation that connected the tactical problems to the larger story. She suggested that Alex's collapse came down to rawness, the normal growing pains young players endure before learning to control the biggest moments in the sport. Wozniak also made it clear that she did not believe Alex was anywhere close to reaching her ceiling. Put all the evidence together, a serve already considered one of the more fragile parts of her game, a natural left-handed advantage that had not yet been fully weaponized, a mind still processing Saturday's historic win, and a deciding set lost through 4 consecutive errors. Paolini did not blow Alex off the court. Alex allowed 4 crucial points to escape at the exact moment she needed to hold on tight. That is the real explanation. It wasn't a lack of talent, and it wasn't a meaningless fluke. It was a collision between fatigue, inexperience, tactical uncertainty, and pressure, all arriving on the same afternoon. Yet this loss may eventually become the most valuable lesson of Alex's career. Once the disappointment is stripped away, her achievements remain enormous. She earned nearly $400,000 in prize money and collected enough ranking points to reach a projected career high position. She became the first Filipino player in the Open era to reach the second week of a Grand Slam, moving beyond every result the country had produced during the amateur era. Even more revealing was the way she handled the defeat. There was no bitterness and no attempt to hide behind excuses. Alex spoke about controlling what she could control. She said she left without regret because she had approached the final moments with courage and a steady mindset. Almost immediately, she began looking forward. She talked about the next major tournament with real belief, explaining that this experience would increase her confidence. She now walks onto the court believing she is capable of winning every match. That does not sound like someone who has been exposed. It sounds like a player who has discovered how narrow the gap is between her current level and the top of the sport. Her serve can be rebuilt. That is a mechanical issue, not a shortage of talent. The placement Navratilova questioned can be improved through video study, repetition, and clearer tactical patterns. The nerves that produced 4 consecutive errors can be reduced every time Alex survives another high-pressure moment. The ability that allowed her to defeat a defending champion on center court is already real. What stands between her and a Grand Slam title is no longer some mysterious wall. It is a short and specific list of weaknesses that can be identified, trained, and corrected. So was this the match that exposed Alex's ceiling, or was it the match that finally showed her where to aim? Somewhere on a practice court, that serve can now be rebuilt 1 mile per hour at a time. The next time she enters a stadium this large, she will carry something she did not possess that Monday in London, a detailed blueprint of exactly how she lost. The question is whether she can use it. Will Alex fix the serve and win a Grand Slam before turning 25? Or did Paolini reveal a barrier that will be harder to break than her supporters want to admit? Remember this match, because years from now, people may look back and say this was the moment everything changed. The match remembered as a heartbreaking loss may actually become the match that helped build a champion. Highlight reels rarely show what happens after the applause fades. They don't follow a player through the tunnel towards the locker room. There is no roaring crowd there, only footsteps, silence, and a scoreline that cannot explain how 4 points separated a 21-year-old from another piece of history. That silence is where champions are often built. Alex still received a standing ovation after the loss. She formed a heart with her hands and delivered a message to the crowd: never say die. Some people treated that gesture like a farewell, the emotional ending to a beautiful tournament run. But it didn't look like goodbye. A player who has just suffered the most painful loss of her career does not send that message unless part of her already understands that the story is still beginning. Scorelines cannot measure hunger. They cannot measure how carefully Alex analyzed her own mistakes instead of blaming Paolini, the stage, or her physical condition. Players who make excuses often repeat